Mhm. Good morning, everybody. As you are checking in, we're not going to do the whole while with this mask on because, first of all, it's too hot inside this mask. And secondly, y'all probably can't hear me too well when I'm using this, but we'll start with this. Happy Halloween, everybody. Y'all see the topic, what we got to get into here today. Scary hours for both candidates leading into this election. And I'm taking this off in like 30 seconds. So I'll give you a few seconds, everybody, to come in, populate the room, and we will get started. Happy Halloween, good morning, week, evening, month, year to everybody as y'all are checking in. We're going to get started in one moment. And again, I told you it's too hot in this mask. I'll wear this for a little bit, then we're going to wrap. We got to take this off and get to the business. Yes, scary hours, folks. It is scary hours for all of you who are emotionally invested in the election and emotionally invested in a particular candidate. It's scary hours for everybody right now. I'm explaining to you why it's scary for both candidates. Now, I'm going to tell you today why it is scary for Trump and his team, and it's scary for Kamala and her team. All right, that's what we're going to get into here today. Let's get out of the mask. I can't keep that mask on. It's too hot to be wearing this shit the whole time. But anyway, y'all know what's happening. Someone asked, what's my pain on January 6th? Leave that comment there or post it again. When I get to the comments, I'll address it. And you already know we got an election coming up. Today is Thursday, so we got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. 5 days from now, hopefully 5 days from now, we know who the winner is. I am not emotionally invested in either candidate, nor am I emotionally invested in either candidate winning, positively or negatively. I have already told you. I did a live about a week or two ago where I told you who to vote for 2024. If you didn't see that live where I told you who to vote for, go watch it so you can get the full context of why I gave you the suggestions, plural, that I gave you when it came to the election. But we'll get into today's topics, and I'm going to give you some scary hour points for both candidates. Okay, so we're equal opportunity over here. So if you think I'm a liberal who just trashes Trump, you're wrong. And if you think I got a pause connection on Instagram. As soon as I said Trump, I got a pause connection. So if you think I'm a liberal who just trashes Trump, you're incorrect. If you think I'm a MAGA who is just praising Trump or trying to get on the MAGA gravy train or just trashing Democrats or I'm signing up for my own slavery, you're also wrong. So let's get into this topic here today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day, former 9-year pro athlete, author, 35 books, and I'm 4 TEDx talks. Created this brand called Work on Your Game. Our job here is to help you perform at your highest level, do so consistently, and produce more results. And we do that all in Work on Your Game University. That link is in my bio if you want to know more about that on the professional side. But today, let's talk about this current event of the election coming up. This is the hottest topic that everybody's talking about. Therefore, I'm going to milk it and use it and try to get attention. People try to say here, you're just trying to get attention. Of course I'm trying to get attention. It's social media. What the hell reason do you think I'm doing this for if I wasn't trying to get attention? So yes, in case any of you is thinking about saying that, you're just trying to get attention by talking about politics, you are correct. I am trying to get attention by talking about politics. Let's get into it. Scary hours. First of all, starting on Trump's side. What's a scary hour thing that has happened for Trump recently? Well, when he had his rally in New York, we're going to talk about that a little bit more in a moment. This past weekend, the comedian who was on, he was like the warm up to the warm up. He made some comments about Puerto Rico and he said garbage. And it was a joke. Obviously, the guy was a comedian. I never heard of that guy before. I don't know if any of you ever heard of the guy before. And yes, even though it was a joke, and if someone asked me what are my personal thoughts on it, because I want y'all to understand the things I'm going to share here today, I'm telling you the perspective from which this could affect the outcome of the election, how it can make a candidate look good or bad. I'm not telling you these are my personal opinions. I'll tell you when I'm giving you my personal opinion. My personal opinion on it is that the guy was a comedian. I don't think the joke was even that good. I listened to it. I heard it. I didn't even think he was funny. I thought the guy was kind of weak. And I think those jokes would go over in the right venue at the right time. I don't think him telling that joke and that place was the right venue. It wasn't the right time for him to tell that joke. I think it would work in the right comedy club. That was not the right comedy club to tell that joke. So, but overall, was I offended by it? No, I'm not Puerto Rican. But even if I was Puerto Rican, I wouldn't be offended by it. If he had made a black joke, I wouldn't be offended by that. It's a joke. He's a comedian. That's what comedians do. They tell jokes. Black comedians tell jokes about black people. White comedians tell jokes about black people, and black comedians tell jokes about white people. So I don't understand, when did this become a thing that all of a sudden people are feigning incredulity and offense, personal offense at a comedian telling a joke? When did that become a thing? That a comedian couldn't tell a joke about a group. That's my personal opinion. However, the reason why this can be scary hours for Donald Trump is because most people ain't like me. Most people will take a joke that's made about themselves or their group, especially in the world that we live in today, where our society has grown extremely weak. We have an extremely weak society, mentally weak, mentally soft society, where people hear a joke about their group, whether that be their females, males, young, old, what country you're from, what religion you follow, your gender identity, whatever it is they're calling it these days. And they're taking personal offense. And like, people are seriously angry about somebody making a joke about these kind of things. Like when Dave Chappelle went through it, when he made jokes about the LGBT and all that stuff. Chris Rock has gone through it. All comedians have gone through this these days. I think it's complete nonsense. But again, most people are not like me. So could this be hurtful in some ways to the Trump campaign? I will say that it's not helpful. It's not helpful that he made that joke, because people went and took it and ran with it. Y'all notice what people do with Trump and anything connected to Trump, because Trump didn't say it. It was this random comedian who, again, I have never heard of. He made that comment, and people went and took that, connected it to Trump because he did it at a Trump event. And they said, oh, well, he's calling Puerto Ricans trash. And I know Puerto Ricans, and now Puerto Ricans are not trash, or I'm Puerto Rican and Puerto Ricans aren't trash. And then all the Latin Americans came out, and all these people were Latin Americans. So this guy, Bad Bunny, I never heard this guy's music, but Bad Bunny came out. I guess he's Puerto Rican. And he gave a positive statement about Puerto Rico. And Jennifer Lopez came and said something. And Aubrey Plaza, who's an actress, she came out and said something. And all these people who are Puerto Rican who already didn't like Trump, they came out and said, well, this is more reason to not like Trump. So on one side, it can be scary hours simply because it was unnecessary. It was an unnecessary joke at this stage. But at the same time, on the flip side, all the people who came out and kind of co-signed this, that Trump is bad because this random comedian made this joke at a Trump event, all these people already had announced that they were supporting his opponent. So is this really doing anything? My personal opinion is this is not really doing much, but people are going to act like this is some monumental thing. The good news for the Trump campaign is that it got superseded by something else that happened after that. And that takes me to our second point. So now let's talk about scary hours for the Kamala Harris campaign. Here's the scary hours for the Kamala Harris campaign, is that Joe Biden, he is still the president of the United States of America, believe it or not. Joe Biden came out of the basement. He came off of his nap, and he made a comment responding to the garbage comment made by this random comedian at the Trump event. And he said, paraphrasing, that the Puerto Ricans that I know and the Puerto Ricans who live in this country, they are not garbage. Was not what the comedian even said. Again, also was a joke, but he's taking the joke and contextualizing it to be a literal, what this guy literally meant. He's connecting it to Donald Trump, and then he's responding to that. This is known as a straw man argument. And he says, the only garbage that I know, this is what Joe Biden said, the only garbage that I know are his supporters, referring to Donald Trump. This was real scary hours. The first one I think was flimsy, the one with the comedian. This here, Joe Biden saying this is a bad idea. And I don't know if it even was an idea. Who knows if Joe Biden even knows what he's saying these days. When he did the one debate that he did with Donald Trump a few months ago, 3 months ago, Joe Biden said some things that we weren't quite sure what he was saying. It didn't make any sense. And it was so terrible that he got kicked off of his own ticket. And now Kamala has replaced him. So who knows where Joe Biden is mentally these days? Did he know what he was saying? Did he say it by accident? I think he realized, or someone on his team, let's say, realized the error in his ways when he made that statement, because he came out on social media the next day or later on that day and tried to basically backtrack what he said. What I meant was Trump himself, and the people next to him, those are the garbage I was referring to. I wasn't referring to people who actually support Trump, such as Republican voters and MAGA supporters, because that's damn near half the country. Of course, he couldn't say that. That'd be a ridiculous thing to say, but that is what he said. And some of you may be listening to this, and I'm going to respond to all comments at the end, by the way. I see the comments going on over here on TikTok. But some people may say, well, look, Trump says stuff all the time. And some of it he has actually said, some of it is stuff taken out of context that people try to make it sound like he said one thing, but he didn't actually say it. I know the game. I've talked about this a lot. This is what people do with Trump. They take him out of context, and then they take the little piece out of context and say, well, he said this. That's a crazy thing that he said. Well, two things about that. First of all, is that people take the stuff that Trump says out of context. The second thing is, even if he did say something crazy, I'm referring to Trump here. Trump says something crazy. The thing with Trump is, and people need to understand this and accept it, even if you hate Trump, is that he says those kind of things that people consider outlandish. He says them so often that eventually it is no longer a thing. No individual one is news because he does it all the time, to the point that you're used to him doing it. See, when someone does something over and over again, then you stop being surprised by it. So when Trump says things that people go crazy over, it's not news because he does it all the time. Joe Biden never says anything that people go crazy over. So if he does it once, then people are going to go crazy over it. Now, people may say, well, that's not fair. That's not balanced. It's not equal for each side. And I would say you're 100% correct. And welcome to life. That's the way it is. And life is the way it works. There are different rules for different people because different people have different expectations set upon them. You know that when Donald Trump speaks, he's going to say something that someone's going to take out of context and try to make it sound crazy. We know people are going to do that. Every time he opens his mouth, people do that to him. Nobody ever does that to Joe Biden. Joe Biden served this up on a platter for MAGA supporters and the Republican Party to use it against Kamala Harris and the Harris campaign. Now, some people may say, well, hey, Joe Biden is not running for president. I heard Kamala Harris say that Joe Biden is not running for president. Well, Joe Biden, you're right. He's not running for president because he is president. Joe Biden is the president. Joe Biden is Kamala Harris's boss. And if we're going to connect what the comedian said at a Trump event to Trump, then we have to connect what Joe Biden said to Kamala Harris. There's more connection between Joe Biden and Kamala Harris than there is between that comedian and Donald Trump. So if we're going to play one game, we got to play the other game. If you're going to say anything that a MAGA supporter does or anybody who is at a MAGA event, anything they say or do, we can connect that to Donald Trump and the meaning of Donald Trump's whole personal existence. If we're going to make that connection every time because you don't like Donald Trump, then we can't ignore the exact same connection used on the other side when Joe Biden makes this ridiculous comment. This is very similar to when in 2016, some of you may remember, Hillary Clinton made the deplorables comment about Donald Trump supporters. This is a very bad idea for Hillary Clinton. There were multiple things that I think led to her losing that election. I think that deplorables comment was one of the biggest reasons why she lost. That comment that she made about Trump supporters calling them deplorables, because what it did was there were a bunch of people who were undecided. Every election, you have people who are undecided or just generally indifferent in every election. This election too. There are people who are undecided, meaning they don't know who they're going to vote for. They're going to vote, but they don't know who they're going to vote for. And there are people who are indifferent, meaning I don't care who wins. I'm maybe not even going to vote at all. Just people who just stay at home and they don't vote at all. And a lot of times in elections, I don't know if any of you know about this, but a lot of times in elections, it's not about persuading or further persuading people who are already on your side, because there's a certain group of Republican voters who will always vote Republican. There's a certain group of Democratic voters who will always vote Democrat. The key in every election is getting people who are not voting at all, who just don't give a damn, to show up and vote for a person because they are so moved to do so. Barack Obama, for example, got a whole lot of black people who otherwise would not have voted at all to show up and vote for him. One of the main reasons why he won. Donald Trump did the exact same thing by getting a bunch of Republican voters who otherwise wouldn't have voted to show up and vote for him. And when Hillary Clinton made that comment calling anyone who supports Trump a deplorable, what she did was get a bunch of people who were, again, they weren't anti-Trump, but they were open to him. They were indifferent about him, or at least sympathetic to him, yet not so sympathetic they were going to vote for him. When she made that comment and said, anybody who supports Trump, they're deplorable. They're just a terrible person. They're just a low-level individual. When you make that kind of comment, what it does is get people who are on the fence to say, wait a minute, you're saying if I support him, I'm a deplorable? On top of the fact that Trump had done a good job of framing her as a career politician, which she is, a person who's been in D.C. her entire life, which she was, a person who is not to be trusted because she's a career politician, which means she must be by connection a career liar, which she is. And I'd say that about all career politicians, by the way, not just Hillary Clinton. They're all liars, especially if you are in there for 40, 50 years like her, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris is on her way, Barack Barack Obama's on his way to putting those years in. You got to be a liar to survive in that environment. As soon as she made that statement, all it did was throw kerosene on a small flame and get a whole bunch of people who weren't going to vote at all to go vote against her. And they went and voted for Trump. And that's one of the main reasons why she lost. So in case those of you don't understand, the reason people win political elections is not because of policy. And you see Mark Cuban, he keeps arguing about tariffs and what the taxes are going to do and what it's going to cost businesses, et cetera, et cetera. There's such a small percentage of people who care about that's going to make a difference, not going to make a difference. What people vote for, and when people vote in elections, they vote based on likability. That is the general reason people vote. When you vote for the candidate that you like. Yes, it is that simple. It is not about policy. It's not about what you're going to do with taxes. It's not about the $25K Kamala claims that she's going to give everybody to buy a house, which is the government doesn't have any money, so I don't know where she's getting this $25K from. The child tax credit that she's claiming, which is not really, I mean, it sounds good, but a tax credit means you don't get the money. You don't actually get the money, first of all. It just may be a credit on your taxes. And secondly, you don't get money for taxes or get credit on taxes until the year after the year that she's talking about. So if I have a kid right now and then I get a tax credit, I don't get the tax credit until like April. I may not get the money or get the money off my taxes till April of next year. My kid is already out of the crib. So what do I need the money for? I mean, it's not like I won't take it, but the whole child tax credit thing sounds good, but not really that big of a deal. And not everybody is even trying to have kids or have dependent kids that would even matter on their taxes. Not everybody's even trying to get a first-time home. The whole point, all these policy things that these candidates are throwing out there are not really the real reasons why they win or lose. The real reason the candidate wins or loses is because people like them versus liking the other person. That's who you're voting for. You vote for the person you like. If you don't like Donald Trump, you're going to vote for the other person. If you don't like Donald Trump, you might not vote at all because you might not like the opponent. If you really like a candidate, you will take the time to go to the polling place and vote for that candidate. If you are indifferent to both candidates, then you probably won't vote at all. And if either candidate can stir you to action, then you will go and vote for whichever candidate has stirred you to whatever action. Hillary Clinton's comment calling anyone supporting Trump a deplorable stirred a whole bunch of people to go vote against her. That's what it did. And what Joe Biden just did, even though it's Joe Biden and not Kamala Harris, if the Trump campaign is smart, they will use that to push people who are indifferent right now or on the fence to go and vote for Donald Trump because of what he said. Now, he just called them garbage. I think it's worse to call them garbage than to call them deplorables because I don't think a lot of people even know what the word deplorable means. But everybody knows the word garbage means. So Joe Biden calling him garbage when he's the sitting president, very, very bad idea for Joe Biden. Again, I don't know if it was an idea or not because to keep it real, again, those of you who follow this stuff, I don't think Joe Biden even likes Kamala Harris anymore. Because Joe Biden, let's be clear, Joe Biden is still the sitting president of the United States of America, right? And Joe Biden is technically still in charge. Joe Biden did not step down from being president. What he did was say, I'm not going to run for re-election after he got, he made himself look bad. Trump didn't even do it. He made himself look bad during that debate. And they pushed him out. Any of you who thinks Joe Biden stepped down and put country before himself or whatever, what would they say he did? He put, well, I can't remember. They use a certain phrase they keep saying. He put the country before himself or something like that. That's bullshit. No, he didn't. They pushed him out. Joe Biden wanted to remain. He wanted to remain on the ticket, and he felt like he had a chance to beat Trump, even though he was disastrous in that debate. And let's look at it. Even though they pushed him out and replaced him with Kamala, they're still in the same spot. They're still in the same spot right now. That Trump and the Democrat, whoever it is kind of neck and neck right now. We don't know who's going to win. Of course, we don't know. But what would have been different had Joe Biden been running? It's pretty much the same situation they were in before. So anyway, I believe, again, I don't know, I believe that Joe Biden wanted to keep running, that Joe Biden got forced off the ticket by the powers that be in the Democratic Party, Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama, and such. They pushed him off, and then they replaced him with Kamala. And I don't even think the Democratic Party wanted Kamala. I don't think they wanted Kamala. I think they wanted to figure out who's the best candidate we can run. They have several candidates who are all better than Kamala and all would have done better than her, and they're all better politicians than Kamala. Shapiro from Pennsylvania, Whitmer from Michigan, Newsom from California, Michelle Obama. All of them are better candidates than Kamala. If they had an open primary with all four of those and Kamala Kamala would have come in last place. Does anyone disagree with that? Anyone leave a comment? Just put the word disagree if you think I'm wrong about that. Put the word disagree if you think that if they had an open primary for the Democratic Party, Michelle Obama, Shapiro from Pennsylvania, Whitmer from Michigan, and Newsom from California, just those four and Kamala, anyone who thinks Kamala would not have come in last place, put the word disagree. She would have come in last place. All of them would have beat her because they're all better speakers than her. They all are more personable than her. And they all have stronger contingencies of bases than she does because Newsom's in California. All right, there's a lot of people. Whitmer's Michigan. Shapiro's Pennsylvania. She should have picked Shapiro as her running mate, by the way. Another conversation for another day. And Michelle Obama, we already know her. All right, she's connected to Barack Obama, and she's actually a very good speaker. Kamala is not. And they would have all trounced her. I'm bringing that up to say this. I don't think the Democrats even wanted to run Kamala, but when Joe Biden announced, if you remember this, when he announced that he was going to be stepping down, i.e. they forced him and he had to post that, the immediate thing that he said was, I'm supporting Kamala Harris to be the person who takes my spot. And the Democrats, he basically checkmated the Democratic Party. And the way he checkmated the Democratic Party was by announcing that Kamala was taking his spot without their word. They didn't give him that word. They said, you're out. You got to announce that you're out. What he did was say, I'm announcing Kamala's going to take my spot. Now, at that point, now remember why he picked Kamala in the first place. When he was running in 2020, he said, I'm going to pick a black woman to be my running mate. Right? He announced that. I'm going to pick a black woman. He didn't say I'm going to pick the best person. He said, I'm going to pick a black woman. And he picked Kamala as that black woman to be his VP. So if he goes and announces, I'm not running for president anymore, but I'm going to replace myself with Kamala Harris. Well, what would the Democratic Party look like if they came out and said, well, no, we're not going to have Kamala. We're going to have an open primary and maybe Kamala's not going to win. And then they're going to put three white people, Newsom, Whitmer, and Shapiro, up against her. And she ends up losing. What does the Democratic Party look like? They would look really bad if they went and basically took the spot away from the black woman. So Joe Biden kind of checkmated them with that. Just something for you to think about. And any of you pay attention to this stuff. That's what he did. He checkmated them by saying, I'm going to put Kamala in the spot. There's no way Democrats can come out and say, well, you know what? No, black woman, we're not going to let you have the spot. We're going to make you compete against everybody else. It would have been an uproar. The Democrats would have lost all their support from the black contingent and the white allies of black people, also known as social justice warriors, if they would have done that. So I don't think they even wanted Kamala. I'm saying all that to make that point. And I posted about this a couple of days ago while we're on the subject. I think many people in the Democratic Party want Trump to win. There's another scary hours thing for the Kamala Harris campaign. They want Trump to win. Now, why would they want Trump to win? Why would the Democrats want Trump to win? First of all, if Trump wins, then he will be retired after this next term because he can't run again. He's retired. He's out of the game. So they don't have to worry about going against Trump again. He's a different animal than any other Republican we've ever seen. And I think any other Republican we will see in the future. Secondly, Kamala will be completely out of there because if Kamala wins this election, well, that means that's only her first term. That means she might want to run for re-election. Are Democrats going to say, hey, black woman, you just won and became the first president black? And when I say black, I'm using air quotes. We'll get into that maybe. Hey, black woman, you just did your first term as president. You know what? We're going to primary you and try to bring up one of these white people to take your spot. Would the Democrats do that? Hell no, they can't do it. They would be stuck with Kamala for at least another election cycle, whether she wins or loses, if she wins this election. I think they want to get rid of her so they can bring better candidates up, such as Michelle Obama. There's a black woman. I think Michelle could actually win. Kamala, I don't think could she win this election? Yes, she could. But I think Michelle could win primaries against other strong candidates. And I think she could go up and run an entire election cycle and be successful. Kamala could not win a primary. That's why she didn't win a primary. And when she was in the primary in 2020, or at least tried to be in one, she had to drop out before they even started voting because she was terrible. That happened. Again, whether you like Kamala or not, she was terrible. That happened. She dropped out. What has she gotten better at since then? Tell me, what's she gotten better at since 2020? Nothing. All she did was get appointed to VP because Joe Biden said, I'm going to pick a black woman. She did not do anything. All she did was get appointed. Anyway, I think Michelle Obama could go through a full primary against other candidates and beat them. And I think she can go through an entire election cycle as the Democratic nominee and win. I think she could do that. I do not believe Kamala could do it. Kamala's only had to go 3 months, and she's on shaky legs right now, and she only had to do 3 months. So anyway, that would get Kamala out of there. Trump will be retired. Now the Democrats can bring up their new crop of people, whoever that's going to be. I already mentioned 3 of them. those governors from California, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. All of them want to be president. Obama might want to run. She keeps claiming she doesn't want to. I think she does want to. That's 4 right there, and that's not counting anybody else. What's the guy? Maybe Jeffries. Maybe he might run. And there's a guy from I can't remember the guy's name. He's the governor, I believe, in Maryland. What's that guy's name? There's a black guy who's the governor in Maryland. I think it's Maryland. I may be getting that state wrong, but there's a black guy who's governor in Maryland. I believe he's an immigrant, but he comes from immigrant roots, but he's a black guy in Maryland. That guy. So they got a whole bunch of people they want to bring in, and I think that's really what they want to do. And if Kamala loses, then they can just get on to their next agenda, which is going to be getting that guy, getting all those people out of there. So anyway, Westmore, yes, that guy, Westmore, Dan Storm. Thank you for telling me that. So that's scary hours for the Democratic Party. Let's go back to scary hours for the Trump campaign. This is a kind of tongue-in-cheek scary hours. So we know that he did the rally in New York. Now I know a lot of people are calling this a Nazi rally, right? They were saying this is a rally that reminded them of the guy from Germany, whose name I'm not going to say because TikTok might flag me if I say his name. Y'all know his name. The guy whose name starts with an H, who from Germany, back from the 1930s. So anyway, when Trump has this rally in New York, people are trying to call it a Nazi rally, and they say, well, this reminds people. I was on Twitter, on X, and people were saying this. Well, having a rally in New York at this time reminds people of, and somebody actually said reminds me, not me, but they were saying this, reminds me of the rally that the H word guy had back in the 1930s. I'm like, wait, how old are you? Because that was almost 100 years ago. You were alive back then to where you have the memory of that rally back then. And since when did having a rally at Madison Square Garden all of a sudden connect you to someone from 100 years ago? What is the connection? What exactly is the connection between that guy from Germany in 1939 and this guy in America in 2020? What is the connection? Does somebody explain to me that connection? There is no connection. The only connection is that people have been calling Trump a dictator and saying he's going to destroy the Constitution and end democracy and all of these things. And they're saying, oh, well, that's perfect. He's just like this guy who literally killed a whole bunch of people. And we're going to connect these two people together. And, oh, because he's having an event in New York, that guy had an event in New York. Oh, so wow, then I guess that means he's him. All right, the guy probably also washed his hands and ate dinner every night and brushed his teeth in the morning. Does that also connect him to the guy from Germany? That makes no sense whatsoever. However, again, that's my opinion that I just gave you. Now I'm going to tell you why this is scary hours for the Trump campaign, because, of course, we know the mainstream media is going to take this and make it into a story that is not really a story. But they can make a story if they don't have one. I just told you this yesterday. If they don't have a story, they'll make one. This is what they do. There's no story here to him having a rally. Both Harris and Trump are having a bunch of rallies in a bunch of places every day. All right, they're all having rallies all the time. And over these next 5 days, they're all going to be in like 3 places per day, every single day. So how all of a sudden is having a rally, you're connecting that to the guy from Germany? How? Can somebody explain to me how? What's the connection between those two? But the media is making this into a thing. He had this N-word rally. NAZ, I don't know if I should keep saying that word. TikTok might be flagging me if I keep saying it. But he had that rally, and somehow that's a connection. And there are people out there. I know some of you are more logical. Some of you are more objective, and you're not so easily swayed by emotion. But some of you who are listening to this on TikTok right now says 355 people in the room. Some of you are definitely swayed by this emotionally because you already didn't like Trump. So anything that you hear about him that sounds negative, you'll just run with it. Oh, it definitely was a H-word rally because this is what he did back then, and these people are all garbage and all deplorables and all these negative things. So all it does is just more stir up people who already didn't like Trump. And this works in elections, is what I just told you. That in elections, it's really about getting the indifferent people who weren't going to do anything to go and vote. So if you get a bunch of people to believe, oh, wait a minute, this guy really is like a Nazi, and he really is trying to end end democracy, and he's going to destroy the Constitution, and he's going to be a dictator on day one, and he's going to try to take out anyone who's not an old, rich white guy, then you know what? Hey, maybe I should vote. Maybe I should vote to make sure this guy doesn't win, because I don't really care for Kamala Harris, but if I think this guy's going to do this, maybe I should go vote just to make sure he doesn't do that. All right, that can move people to action. So again, even if you think it's ridiculous, I think it's ridiculous, doesn't mean it's not happening. It doesn't mean there aren't people out there who don't think this way. There are people out there who do think this way. And this is scary hours for the Trump campaign. They got to fight against this because they not only will they use it, they're using it right now. Again, nothing I'm telling you all is news. Y'all got the internet. Y'all use social media. Do y'all see this? Or if you're on TikTok, I don't consume TikTok content, but y'all see this, don't you? Y'all see people taking these things that Trump just did and making it into this event from New York that Trump just had, and they're telling you why this is going to be some type of terrible, catastrophic thing if he wins. We can't let that happen, so you have to go vote to make sure this guy doesn't win. All right, they've been telling you that for 10 years. They've been telling you that about Trump. And anybody hear the same message for 10 years, eventually you might start to believe it. Most people are not critical thinkers. Keep that in mind. Do not give people more intellectual credit than they deserve. Point number 4, we're talking here today about the scary hours for both campaigns. I'm giving you both sides scary hours. Here's the scary hour for Kamala Harris. It's been 90 days since she took over, a little over 90 days, I think, since she took over the campaign. She was vice president for, let's just say, 4 years now. We've known her pretty much since then, since she jumped into the campaign as the primary for the Democrats. And in these, from 2020, it's probably 2019 when she first got in the race, to now, so let's just say 5 years. The problem for the Kamala campaign is that she still has yet to develop a personality. All right, this is still a problem. It's been 5 years. Kamala Harris is, I believe, 59 or 60 years old. She still has yet to develop a personality. This is an issue. All right, this is an issue. Why is this an issue? All right, this is an issue because, again, I just told you that political campaigns are won based on likability. This is how people win campaigns. It's likability. You vote for the candidate that you like, and then you come up with a bunch of logical justifications for why you made the decision. So I see people these days, now they got these now everybody's debating. Like debates are now like this thing that everybody does. Used to be just candidates debated against each other. Now people just go debate each other. I saw this video on X this morning. It was two groups of relatively young people, maybe college age kids. And one side, they all had on red and they were conservative. And the other side, they all had on blue and they were Democrats. And then the topic would get thrown out. And then people would just take turns on each side, standing up and arguing against each other and then cheering for the points they liked and being negative against the points they didn't like. And now you got people going on the streets with a microphone, hey, Harris or Trump. And then whichever one they say, they argue with you about that. And then you got these influencers. They'll go to some college campus and they'll sit down in the middle of the room and there's 30 people in the room and they'll name a topic and then everybody runs to the chair and then they debate each other. And then they take little clips out of that and they put it on the internet like, yeah, I killed him. I ate him. I cooked on him. Whatever these things that people are doing. Now everybody's just trying to debate. Here's the thing. All of the things that these people debate about have nothing to do with the decisions that you make when it comes to voting. None of it. All of that stuff is just entertainment. That's what it is. If someone was to come up to me and say, who do you like, Harris or Trump? And I am indifferent. Again, I'm voting for myself. I already told you that. If I was to name one, let's say I said Trump. And then somebody said, well, why Trump? Let's say they don't like Trump. Why Trump? And then they asked me to start giving reasons. I say, I just like him more. All right, that's why I'm voting for him. And they said, well, what do you like about him? I said, I just like him more. If I had to pick between him and Harris, I like him more. That's why I make my decisions based on that. That's it. They wouldn't be able to make a video out of that because I'm not going to go back and forth with them on policy and this happened and January 6th was like this and the economy was this way and gas prices are like this and groceries cost too much. See, as soon as you start giving people reasons, all they do is they try to pick one and try to argue with you about it. But it doesn't matter because even if you argue with someone and you quote unquote win the argument or you win the debate, do you change their mind? Has any of you ever changed another person's mind by arguing with them or by debating them or by cooking them in the conversation? Has any of you ever changed another person's mind by doing it? None of you has ever done that. All right. Everyone in the world is owed for a lifetime and changing another person's mind by arguing with them, debating with them, or cooking them in the conversation and then posting it on social media to show your friends that you beat them in the conversation. All right. That doesn't happen. All right. As the saying goes, a person convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. So even when you think you have changed another person's mind, all you did was get them to just say, okay, you're right. You got it. Good point. And they just want to get away from you so they can keep on thinking what they were thinking before you came around. You can't change another person's mind. You can influence, but people have to change their own minds. You can influence people's ways of thinking, but you cannot change another person's way of thinking. I'm bringing all that up to say Kamala Harris still hasn't developed the personality to do interviews and say anything useful. She's repeating talking points. It sounds like when she's talking, it sounds like she's reading from a script. And again, this is, if I was talking to the Harris campaign, they said, Dre, what are some critiques you would give of our process? This is what I would say. I would say Kamala sounds like she's reading from a script. She has a good team. They're giving her a good script. They're giving her good points. They're making all the ads, and they paid a bunch of influencers. They spent a lot of money on influencers during this Harris campaign. So a lot of y'all, when you see these people on social media and they keep posting positive things about the Harris campaign, it sounds like propaganda. It is propaganda. They are paid influencers. They pay these influencers to post positive things about Harris, and they spent a lot of money. The Harris campaign spent a ton of money on these influencers and people to just say positive stuff about her. So if you want to make some money, you should have worked for the Harris campaign, because they would have paid you pretty well. They've been spending a lot. But the problem is, when she has to actually speak herself, it's like, all right, there's nothing here. All right, she's not giving us anything of substance. This is the reason why it would have been great for her had she done it. She wouldn't do it. Had she done it, had she gone on the Joe Rogan show? I think she should have gone on the Joe Rogan show. I would have said to her, I would have challenged her in this way. I would have said, Vice President Harris, if you want to prove that first of all, I would back up. Let me back up on that. I would say, listening to you talk, you have not shown much personality. It doesn't seem like you have much personality there. You seem like an empty suit politician who is just repeating political talking points, and you're saying all the stuff that your team has written down for you in a script. You sound like you're reading from a script when you talk. You use the same language over and over again. You go back to the same stories over and over again. And when you get asked challenging questions, you've been deflecting over and over. And I've never seen you just go off script and just have a normal human conversation. Haven't seen you do too much of that. And everybody who's interviewed you are only people who are friendly to your cause. Could you go talk to someone who's completely objective to your cause and have just a normal conversation with them, just a person conversation? Can you do it? Because that's what Donald Trump did on the Rogan show. Donald Trump's been doing that for years. Right? So it's not new coming from Trump. Harris has never done it. I would say Vice President Harris, there are still some people who are indifferent or unsure about you and your personality. So here's what I would suggest you do. If you believe you can do it, you need to go on the Joe Rogan show and sit down with him for 3 hours, just have a normal human conversation. Stop trying to put on the political face with the big smile. Stop trying to share your talking points. Don't talk about Donald Trump at all. And just talk about your experience, your life, and yourself as a human. Just have a human conversation. That's what the Joe Rogan show is, just a human conversation. Yes, you're a politician, but just have a normal conversation. That's what he did with Trump. If you didn't hear the interview of him and Trump on the Rogan show, you didn't hear the interview of Rogan with Trump on the Rogan show, go listen to him. Donald Trump has the ability to do that because that's just the normal way that he talks. If Kamala Harris had done that, I think it would have helped her a lot with voters who are indifferent to her, who think she's just another political puppet who got put up there to repeat talking points, because that's what she sounds like. And some of you are not liking that I'm saying this, and you're going to vote for Harris anyway, or maybe you already have. That's completely fine. Because maybe you're voting for her because, again, you don't like Trump, so you're voting for Harris. Completely fine. You're free to vote for whoever you want. Your vote, your choice. I'm telling you what I would give her as advice, or if her campaign called me and asked me what I thought, I would say she hasn't shown any personality. Does she have any? We need to know. If she has personality, we need to know. Because she's been on all these other shows, and all she did, she was on that show called Call Her Daddy. And on that show, she was just repeating talking points. And the woman who hosts that show said, well, I'm having this show because I'm having Kamala because, even though we don't normally talk about politics, I want to talk about women's rights and nonsense women's rights. All right, so that was the excuse she had to have Kamala on the show. That show, then she did Shannon Sharp the other day. Shannon Sharp asked her nothing. He challenged her on none of her points, even though she repeated a bunch of hoaxes and she repeated a bunch of things that were not true. Shannon Sharp did not challenge her on a single thing that she said. So he was just going there to kiss the ring. Then she did the Breakfast Club with Charlamagne. Charlamagne asked nothing. Charlamagne's head is full of empty nonsense. He didn't have anything of substance to challenge her on. He didn't challenge her on anything. And she did the Shade Room. Everywhere she's going, she's talking to people who are sympathetic to her cause and nobody who's really going to challenge her. The only one she did, I saw somebody leave the comment, she did Fox News. And the Fox News one was only like 20 minutes. And she kept trying to talk about Donald Trump. She wasn't really answering the guy's questions that much. And then they cut the interview short. So she has not, that was the only one she did, was that one with Fox News. And it was just basically an argument between the two of them. And then they cut it short. So she didn't have to stay there too long and get exposed. Joe Rogan would have let her open up and just have a normal conversation. And I would have found out she actually does have a personality. I don't think she does. That's my personal opinion. I don't think she has much personality. I don't think there's anything there. That's what I think. Does Donald Trump have personality? Again, whether you like him or you hate him, I think we all can agree he has personality. Again, you may think it's a terrible personality, but he has one. What does Kamala Harris have? I don't think she has any. And here's the reason why this is a problem. aside from what I've already said. In 2020, Joe Biden was able to win because he stirred up all the anti-Trump energy and got people to go vote for him because they were voting against Trump. Any of you who voted for Joe Biden in 2020, you didn't vote for Joe Biden. You voted against Donald Trump. Nobody cares about Joe Biden. Joe Biden doesn't have any fans. Hillary Clinton got more fans than Joe Biden. All right, and she wasn't able to beat Trump. Biden was able to beat Trump. He took all the leftover anger from 2016 that didn't work, and then he added it to the 2020 anger. On top of that, you had the summer of social justice. On top of that, you had COVID. He needed all of those things to happen at the same time to eke out a victory over Trump. Joe Biden needed that. The problem for Harris is that she's trying to use the same playbook, but I think people are exhausted on the anti-Trump thing. Like, all right, I'm going to vote against Trump, therefore I'm going to vote for you. They did it for Hillary. They did it for Biden. I don't think as many people are going to do it for Kamala. I think there are a bunch of people going to do it for Kamala. I don't think she is going to produce as strong a turnout as Biden did. Oh, yeah, I forgot in 2020, they also had the mail-in ballots, and who knows what the hell happened in the 2020 election. We don't know. We don't know what actually happened. Joe Biden needed all of that combined to eke out a victory over Donald Trump. Kamala Harris doesn't have those things working in her favor. All right, I think people are gotten tired of that. All right, you're voting for me just because you don't like Trump. They did it twice already. I don't think they're going to do it a third time. It's like the boy who cried wolf. She doesn't have the summer of social justice on her side. She doesn't have a virus on her side. And what else does she not have on her side? That was one other thing that I said that I forgot. But I think people are tired of that. And I think she would need to bring some actual substance. And I don't think she got it. I don't think Kamala Harris has it. I haven't seen it. If she has it, somebody let me know where it is. I ain't seen it. So if y'all have seen it, let me know what I missed. I haven't seen it. Anyway, let's move on. Number 5, scary hours for the Trump campaign. The anti-Trump media push. All right, now we're in the last week before the election. The anti-Trump media is about to go crazy. If you don't think it's going crazy already, keep watching. It's about to go super crazy. This is the mainstream media, which is mostly left-leaning. We all can agree on that. There have been small changes because now you have TikTok is not really left-leaning. TikTok is based in a different country. At least it is for now. And Elon Musk bought X, which used to be Twitter, but YouTube, Facebook isn't really in it. Facebook's kind of stepped back. Facebook's been kind of quiet this election cycle, but Instagram, what's the other platforms? All these other platforms, LinkedIn, all these other platforms that we use they're still left-leaning, and all the mainstream media TV, CNN, NBC, ABC, what's the other one? MSNBC, everybody except for Fox, they're still largely left-leaning. They're about to go crazy, trashing Trump and stirring up emotion for people to go vote against him. They're going to do that, and they're going to go super hard. I'm recording this on a Thursday, for those of you who are watching this on replay. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, into Tuesday, they're about to go super hard trashing this guy. And it's going to be in favor of Harris to go vote because we can't have this guy come in because he's a fascist, he's a dictator, he's the H guy from Germany, he's a Nazi, he's going to destroy democracy, he's going to be a dictator on day one, he's going to tear up the Constitution, he tried to overthrow the last election. What else did he do? He staged and basically created the insurrection on January 6th. Y'all know the list of all these things. It's like a list of like 20 things you could keep saying about him over and over again. If you want to know what they are, just listen to Kamala Harris during the interview. She keeps repeating them. And this is going to move some people to go vote against him. That's what it's going to do. And they're about to throw fire on that and press the pedal as hard as they can. They're going to press as hard as they can on that gas pedal for these last 5 days. And this is a challenge for the Trump campaign because they have to fight back against it. And hopefully they're already prepared for this because if I know it, I know they know it. All right, this is their full-time job. I just talk about this stuff every now and then. And I'm going to answer questions at the end. They do this all day, every day. So they should know this is coming and they should be prepared for what they're going to do when it happens because it's happening. And they better be ready for it because what that campaign is going to do, the media campaign, they are going to no, I said it earlier. I said Nazi. They didn't do anything. So I guess maybe they didn't hear me. But anyway, I can say it, Tara. I got away with that. I can't say the H word. That word I'm not going to say. H word is the leader of those guys from Germany. That guy, I'm not going to say his name. Anyway, they will push hard to move some people to go vote for Harris, which is actually a vote against Trump in these last 4 or 5 days, just using the negative stuff, anti-Trump media push. All right, number 6. Actually, these last 2 points, 6 and 7, are scary hours for the Harris campaign. Because I think the Harris campaign has more challenges right now than the Trump campaign. Doesn't mean I know who's going to win, but I think the Harris campaign has more challenges. Number 6 is that Kamala Harris, and we're talking about the scary hours for the election. Kamala Harris is still trying to persuade people right now, whereas Trump is just landing the plane. All you hear Trump doing, if you listen to Trump's speeches now, even his rally that he had in New York, notice nobody took any sound bites from his rally in New York. Nobody used anything that he said because he didn't say anything to rile anybody up. He didn't say anything that anyone could even take out of context to make him try to look bad. Couldn't even try because he didn't say anything. He didn't give them any material. And that's what you're supposed to do at this point in the election cycle. You shouldn't be saying anything to try to stir up anybody or rile anyone up. All you're doing is just landing the plane. Trump isn't landing the plane right now. He's just saying normal stuff. He doesn't have to say anything crazy. He doesn't really have to talk about Harris that much anymore. All you got to do is just keep pounding the same points. All you got to do is keep saying the same stuff. Immigration, the economy. Those are the only two things Trump got to talk about. Immigration, economy. He just keeps repeating that over and over again. Just find 100 different ways to talk about it. That's all he has to do. That's what we call landing the plane, because that's what his whole campaign is based on. Immigration, economy, and the third thing, if he wants to add in the third thing, think about how it was during the years when I was president before the virus happened. Everything was good. We were generally good. We weren't in any new wars. Unemployment was low. Inflation was low. The economy was doing well. Just remember how it was then. Let's get back to that. That's all you got to do. He don't have to say anything else, and that's all he's doing. So he is exemplifying good message discipline. That's what we call that. Message discipline was when you know what your message is and you just stick to the message. You don't go off script and you just stick to the same points over and over again. That's all he has to do to land the plane. Kamala Harris, on the other hand, is not landing the plane. The plane is still she's still trying to take the plane upward. And this is a problem because the election is in 6 days, 5 days. She can't land the plane yet because I don't think they quite know where they're going. She's still trying to persuade people with, well, Trump this and Trump that. He's a dictator. He's unstable. He's going to be a dictator on day one. He did the insurrection. He said this. Look at what he does at his rallies. He's only about himself. He's not about the people. She's still talking about him more than she's talking about herself. This is a problem. She's not sticking to the message. If she would stick to the message for her should be, we're going to unite people instead of divide them. Again, I'm not saying that I believe these things are true, but this is what her message should be. We're going to unite people instead of divide them. You get to vote for the first woman and the first black person, maybe. That's kind of a weak point. And women's rights. That's all she should be sticking to. She should be focused on women's rights, women's rights, women's rights. She should say that 10 times every time she speaks. And she'd talk about, I'm going to be the uniter and I'm not going to tear people apart. And the country's going to feel more together if I'm in charge than if Trump's in charge. That's all she needs to say. So if I would give her just two things, women's rights, and we're going to feel more together if I'm in charge rather than if Trump's in charge. If Trump's in charge, half the country's going to be angry that he's in charge. That is true. If Kamala wins, people are going to be upset that she won, but people won't be as angry. Let me say it this way. Conservatives will not be as angry if Kamala wins as liberals will be if Trump wins. I got to pause on IG. If Trump wins, people who don't like Trump are going to be really, really angry. If Kamala wins, people who don't like Kamala are going to be annoyed, but they're not going to be angry. It's not going to be crazy because people don't really have strong emotions about Kamala. They got strong emotions about Trump. And also, I posted a poll on X the other day. I got to look at it. I forgot to look at it to see what even the results were. I believe that if between Kamala winning and Trump winning, it's 50-50 right now. This is crazy. So here's my poll that I put on X yesterday. I said, which will lead to more election protests, post-election protests or violence if Kamala wins or if Trump wins? And it's literally 50-50 right now. It's still 50-50. Some say, half say Trump and half say Kamala. What do y'all say? So my question is this. Depending on who wins, I want you to put the name of which winner would lead to more protests or violence if they win. Would it be more violence if Kamala wins, or would there be more violence if Trump wins? I think there'd be more violence if Trump wins. And I know many people will say, well, hey, look at January 6th. The thing is, January 6th was that one group of people in that one spot. If Kamala wins, I think there will be protests and violence in a whole bunch of spots. All the blue cities in America, there's going to be protests. Everywhere is going to be protesting. I think if Trump wins, if Kamala wins and Trump doesn't win, there's going to be people who would gather maybe one time in one place, similar to January 6th, and protest. But if Kamala wins, I think there's going to be, I mean, not Kamala, excuse me. If Trump wins, there's going to be protests everywhere if he wins. I think there'll be more protests if Trump wins than if Kamala wins. What do y'all think? I don't know what y'all think. And these are their supporters. It's not the candidates, it's the supporters. So the scary hour issue for Kamala is that she's still trying to persuade people, and she's still talking about Trump way too much and says it's focusing on her main message. And the issue is she hasn't talked to enough people on the other side. She keeps saying in her campaign rally events that she's going to work with people on both sides of the aisle. I'm going to work with Democrats and Republicans. And she keeps saying something that I don't agree with. She says being president is not about being a dictator. It's about having a consensus of opinions and a consensus of views so we can all come to this, be on the same page. That's not what being president is about. President is the leader. You're the person in charge. You're the commander in chief. Being a leader does not necessarily mean being a dictator, but in some ways it does. Now, being president means you're in charge. All right, there's no such thing as a group decision. A group decision is an oxymoron. A group can't make a decision. One person makes a decision and they get the group to follow behind the decision maker. That's what being a president is about. Leaders make decisions. Groups do not make decisions. Never seen a statue for a group. You see a statue for one person because they're the leader. They're the person in charge. So Kamala keeps saying, well, I'm going to lead by consensus. What the hell does that mean? You're not leading if you're leading by consensus. You ain't the leader. The leader leads. Now, you can listen to what everybody else says. You take everybody's opinion. But at the end of the conversation, you make a decision because you're the one in charge. So this is, it just doesn't sound right to me. But most people don't care about that. I just happen to notice that. And the last one, here's the last scary hours thing for Kamala Harris. And this is the one that out of everything that I've said here today, the one that I dislike the most is this last one I'm about to tell you. This whole concept of telling women, because the Harris campaign has rightly and smartly focused on this women's rights concept. It's actually a fallacious argument, but I understand the persuasive capabilities of this argument. I do not believe that this is true, but I understand that it persuades people. So everybody caught me when I said that? Okay. This whole women's rights thing, that this election is about women's rights. No, it's not. Let me explain that first before I even get to this point. Actually, let me tell you the point, then I'll explain it. This last scary hours point of the Harris campaign saying that, hey, it's okay if you lie to your husband about who you voted for. You can tell him that you voted for Trump, but you actually voted for Kamala, and that's okay. It'll be our little secret amongst us women that you voted for Kamala instead of voting for Trump. I vehemently disagree with this. I don't like this at all for several reasons, and it has nothing to do with Harris or Trump. So now, first, let's back up. Let me explain or articulate for those of you who already understand. This election is not about women's rights. That's nonsense. First of all, when Roe versus Wade got knocked down by the U.S. Supreme Court, all that happened was now instead of the United States as a whole making the abortion rights, because it's not reproductive rights, it's abortion rights, and that language matters. Instead of making it a federal thing that says absolutely yes, now they just changed it to a state thing. So now each state individually gets to choose what the rights are going to be with regards to abortion. And it's not reproductive rights, it's abortion. All right, it's not your right to reproduce. You already got the right to reproduce. Everyone has the right to reproduce. There's no police officer in your house telling you can't have unprotected sex because you're not allowed to reproduce. There's no law around that. So this whole language of reproductive rights or reproductive freedom is bullshit. And it is an attack on language, and we're not playing those games around here. I don't play language games. We call things what they actually are. All right. When you decide to have an abortion, that's what you're having, an abortion. You are aborting a life that you voluntarily made. 99% of abortions are from abortions that happen through voluntary, unprotected sexual intercourse. It's not, I'm not going to say the R word, can't say it on here. It's not the SA term. I can't say it on TikTok. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Most pregnancies do not occur that way. Most pregnancies are from consensual sex. So you're not stopped from reproducing. You reproduce as much as you want. Okay. It's abortion. You're ending the life of a baby that you made voluntarily. Whether you wanted to do it or not, whether you meant to do it or not, is irrelevant to the fact that you knew exactly what you were doing when you had unprotected sex, that you might get pregnant. Is anyone unaware of that? Everybody knows that. So miss me with the reproductive rights language. Nonsense. It's abortion. So anyway, when they say that this election is about women's, I missed where I was. When they ended Roe versus Wade through the United States Supreme Court, I got to pause on Instagram. Instagram doesn't like me talking about this stuff. So here we back Instagram. When they ended that, all they did was change it to going to the states. Now, here's the reason why this is a foolish point that a lot of people have bought into. One of the things that all of you should want, whether you know it or not, all of you should want is to not have the federal government overreaching into your life and the decisions that you make. And the crazy part about it is that the Harris campaign, Kamala Harris keeps saying things like, we don't want the federal government deciding what we get to do with our bodies. Doesn't she keep saying that? Mofo, that's exactly what ending Roe versus Wade does. It takes the federal government out of the conversation. That's literally what it does. What she's saying is the exact opposite of what actually happened. And that's what makes it so crazy. She said, we don't want the federal government having overreach into what we do with our bodies. That's why we ended Roe v. Wade. So the federal government has no say. Now the states have a say, and it's a local thing rather than a federal thing. You don't want the federal government making decisions for you. You already know what I told you about the federal government. They're $35 trillion in debt. They do everything ineffectively and inefficiently. They can do nothing to help you because they have nothing to give you. All right, that's how the federal government works. You don't want help from the federal government in any way, shape, or form. Which is why I'm indifferent to who wins this election, because whoever wins, they're going to be in charge of the federal government. They can't help you. All right, so all you're going to do is have a good feeling about the person who's running it, but they still ain't doing nothing for you. Even if it's Trump, even if it's Kamala, they cannot help you. They have nothing. And even when they have stuff, they fumble the ball. The federal government has been fumbling the ball for 60 years. Okay, so any of you who's excited about the federal government, get unexcited. Okay, this is the reason why the cost of life will continue to go up. This is the reason why the middle class will disappear. There will be rich people and poor people. And the poor people, you will be controlled by the federal government. And let me let you know something. That ain't what you want. We'll have that conversation. I already had that conversation with y'all a couple weeks ago, but let me continue what I'm saying here. So Kamala's campaign is pushing this completely fallacious argument that voting for her, I guess what she's claiming is that she's somehow, some way going to restore Roe versus Wade. First of all, how's she going to do that? How's she going to do that? She can't make the Supreme Court change their decision. Well, she could try, but I don't think it's going to happen. And the only option that she has to restore Roe versus Wade is she's hoping that during her 4 years, let's say she wins, during her 4 years, enough Supreme Court justices leave the Supreme Court and she can replace them with left-leaning judges, and then they restore Roe versus Wade. The problem is that requires a couple things. First of all, she has to win. Secondly, she has to hope that those judges leave the bench. Third, she has to hope that they restore Roe v. Wade. And fourth, the problem is that it does the exact thing that she's saying she doesn't want to do. She says, you don't want the federal government overreaching into your reproductive freedoms. But if you make it a federal issue, that's exactly what you're doing. Whether you make it a yes or a no, it still becomes a federal issue if she's involved. So her whole point makes no sense. It's a fallacious argument. The president shouldn't be making decisions about what you do with your body, what you don't do with your body. And what Trump did, it's the same thing he did during the virus, is that he said, we're not going to federally mandate things. We're going to let the states decide individually what you want to do. In other words, he was shrinking the overreach of the government, which all of you should want. Again, regardless of what you know about or how you feel about either candidate or the government, let me tell you something you should know about the federal government. You don't want them overreaching into your life in any way, shape, or form, medically, financially, or legally, or any other way. You want everything to be state level rather than federal level. Because the federal government fumbles every single ball that gets handed to them. Name one thing the federal government does effectively and efficiently. Name one. They can't even count votes effectively and efficiently. That was really the states. But they can't handle money. They're $35 trillion in debt. They can't handle medical issues. Can they handle legal issues? The federal government doesn't do anything effectively and efficiently. Not one thing. Why would you want the president making decisions for you? Again, Harris or Trump. And if you listen to what Trump says, he's trying to reduce what the federal government can do and let the states make decisions. Whereas Harris is saying, we're going to increase what the federal government can do, and I'm going to make the decision for you. That's what Harris is saying. I'm going to make the decision. You're not going to make it. I'm going to make the decision, and we're going to make it a federal issue. You don't want to give more power to the federal government, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so everybody got that point? So anyway, this whole concept of Harris and her campaign saying it's okay to lie to your husband and go ahead and vote for Kamala Harris with a little wink, wink, and why your husband thinks that you voted for Trump. Here's why I vehemently disagree with this, because as I just told you, you don't want the federal government overreaching into any aspect of your life. Why would they run a campaign that says it's okay to go against the grain of the person you have married and chose to make a life with and build a family with and have children with, as long as you vote for Kamala Harris. All right? So it's okay to go against the grain of your husband and the father of your children, as long as you're voting for Kamala Harris. Like, are you serious? That's a ridiculous premise. Why would you do that? Kamala Harris might only be around for 4 years or 8 years if she even wins. If she loses, she's disappearing, in case y'all didn't know. If Kamala Harris loses this election, you are not going to hear from her on the federal level ever again. She will never be back. Democrats didn't want her in the first place. She will never be back if she loses this election. So you're going to go against the grain of your husband to go vote for Kamala Harris? Really? Really? That's what you're going to do? That's your plan? That's your idea? I don't like this at all. The subtext of this campaign push is that we're just going to undermine. You should undermine your marriage, undermine the home that you have, undermine your family, just to make sure you vote for Kamala Harris. Like, that's crazy. I think that's crazy. Thank you, Kimmy, for the rose. That's completely crazy. Now, if you want to give other reasons, if you want to use the reproductive freedom part, I just explained how that's a fallacious argument. But if you want to use it, I get it. I get that most people don't even understand what exactly she's saying. You want to use that, fine. You want to use all the hoaxes about Trump and January 6th and find people on both sides. He's going to be a dictator and he's a Nazi and he's going to overthrow the government. You want to use that? I'm cool with that too. Again, I know that they're bullshit, but I understand that people use it. I understand that many people are persuaded by it. Go ahead and use that. But telling people to undermine, the subtext being undermine your family, undermine your home, undermine the father of your children, just so you can vote for Kamala Harris, I am not with this. And she's not saying it in so many words. I'm breaking it down and explaining it. But this right here is a red flag to me. All the other things I said about Harris are just my views and my opinions and my interpretations of what's happening. But this one is a red flag. All the rest of them, all right, fine. Biden said Trump supporters are garbage. We know they think that. He said the quiet part out loud. We already know that. We already know that he thinks it. I don't think Trump supporters are garbage, but we know that people on that side do believe that. And that's fine. All right, that's what you think. You just said the quiet part out loud. Hillary said the quiet part out loud in 2016. Now he did it now. Kamala not having personality ain't news to anybody. Y'all know that. Y'all hear her talk. All right, Kamala persuading at the last minute, not landing the plane, not being that great of a speaker, speaking like she's reading off a script, not news. So we already know all these things. But this one right here, this one is the red flag. All the rest of these ain't red flags to me. This is a red flag. Undermine your family just so you can vote for Kamala Harris. I ain't feeling that at all. Even if you're a Harris supporter, I don't know how you can be feeling that. All right, you're married to that person. That's a lifelong commitment. A political candidate is a president 4 years, maybe 8, but marriage is for life. Your kids are forever. So they're telling you, and again, they're saying it in the campaign. It'd be one thing if it was just random people. Like if I got on here and said that, that's one thing. But this is the campaign. They've got ads. Y'all see these ads? Y'all see the ad where they got the 2 women voting, and it's like the campaign has put out a message and saying to women on some wink, wink secret level, hey, it's okay to go against your family as long as you support us. I ain't feeling that at all. This has undertones of what the Black Lives Matter movement said. Y'all remember BLM, right? Are they still around? The scam that was called Black Lives Matter, that they said when they first got known, they had this on their website for years and nobody noticed it. But then when they blew up in the year 2020, they had it on their website that they wanted to censor women and children, and they wanted to disrupt the nuclear family. That's what BLM had on their website. And then when everybody found out, they took it off their website. So if y'all didn't know, now you know. They had that on their website. We want to disrupt the nuclear family. Nuclear family, if you don't know what that means man, woman, and child. That's what the nuclear family is. Man, woman, child. They said we want to disrupt the nuclear family and make it all about women and children. That's what they said. And the women who were running BLM were all lesbians, by the way. All right, this is what they wanted to do. And when that got found out, people stopped believing in BLM because people were supporting it for a while. After the, what's the woman in Louisville? What's that woman's name? Breonna Taylor, then George Floyd. After those things happened, everybody was supporting BLM, right? In the summer of social justice. But then when it came out, oh, wait a minute. They don't want to have a nuclear family. They want to destroy families. People said, oh, no, I can't support that. And then that was it. That was it for BLM. They've been pretty quiet since then. We heard from them since. BLM, it was a scam the entire time, but people didn't realize it was a scam until you put it in their faces. This right here, what the Harris campaign is doing, has undertones of that. Let's undermine the family just to make sure you follow us. I ain't feeling that at all. All that said, I'm gonna take questions and comments in a second. So if you got questions and comments, if you're on TikTok and you want me to respond to one of your comments, you're gonna have to post it again when I get there. Let me go to the other ones first because TikTok has the most comments, and then I'll respond to y'all's comments because there were so many and I'm not gonna be able to see them all. So over on YouTube, Ayers LLC said Ukraine is draining it. No, well, we're giving it to them. No, they ain't draining it. We're giving it to them. Ayers said Biden just destroyed Kamala with that garbage quote. Maybe. I mean, he didn't help. I will say he didn't help. If they end up not winning, then that could be something they point to. I will say that. Tell the Truth TV was good. Said she gave Fox News 15 minutes. Yeah, she did pretty much. Someone said, how do you feel about black men being attacked for not feeling Kamala? Yeah, Barack Obama was completely out of line with that comment. I think I did a video on that. Tell the truth. It should be on my YouTube. Thanks, Marianne, for the hat there. I'm looking at YouTube comments and I'm gonna come over to TikTok after I do Instagram. So yeah, Barack Obama was out of line for that comment. That whole comment about the brothers need to go support. Barack Obama ain't from the neighborhood. He shouldn't even be talking like that. Barack Obama is not a brother. He's allegedly from Hawaii. I seen some information that said he was born in Kenya before he was a known guy. He was raised in Indonesia. Barack Obama ain't from the hood. And I do not like these people who ain't from the neighborhood showing up and talking as if they are. Barack Obama ain't from the hood. Kamala Harris ain't from the hood. Michelle Obama ain't from the hood. None of these people are from the hood. They talk like they are. And I don't like that. And I voted for Obama. And let's see what we got over on Facebook. No. Aswan, yeah, Westmore. That was the guy. Thank you for filling me in there. Let me see what we got on IG, and then we'll get over to TikTok. So TikTok, I'm going to do IG first, and I'm going to come over and see what y'all doing. It's a great time to get it, so let's talk about it. Yes, we are talking about it. Oh, yeah, workonyourgameuniversity.com. Those of y'all who are in here, you want to know where you can work more with me, that's where it happens. The link in my bio. Tara said, swayed by emotions. Yes, critical thinking is a raw skill. Much of this political campaign is driven with emotion. Man with the golden tongue will win. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know if critical thinking is a law skill. I don't think most people ever had it in the first place. I think it was more prevalent, but fewer people have it now because it's not really required anymore. Tara said, yeah. Well, some words you can't get away with. Some words. TikTok is more strict than Instagram. I will say that. Tara said, I don't think she can land the plane because I don't think she ever took off. She's not authentic and people can feel that. Some people can feel it. And others, maybe they can feel it, but they don't care. Because they hate Trump more than they question her. And that works. That works. So we can't dismiss that. That's a real thing. Tara says, it's not about women's rights. They've run with that. Telling women to lie to their spouses solidifies the fact they're comfortable with lying. It makes her and the team look worse. Well, I think it's undermining families. That's the part that I don't like. The lying part, all politicians lie. So they're telling other people to lie. I understand. That's part of the game. But undermining the family, I don't like. Tara said, you don't want the federal government to have that power, but to condone the lying to your spouse is a bad call. Well, we'll see how it works out. They've done everything they can to throw him under the bus, everything. People start asking why. Well, people have started asking because it's been 10 years. So that's the thing. Tara said her campaign team should be fired. I think it's a little bit too late for that. I think it's a little bit too late to fire anybody. We got who we got now. All right, TikTok, I'm over here. Let me see what y'all got. If you got a question or comment, put it in the comment section. I'm trying to scroll through, and let's see if I can get to the top or as far up as I can get before they stop letting me scroll anymore. I see a bunch of you are responding to each other. All right, so Unity says you start with faith and go after family because division and propaganda, that's what communism does. Generally, I agree with that. Yes, you start by attacking the faith and you go after the family. Yes, I do agree with that. Marion got the number 3 gifter badge. Appreciate you. Thank you. Once again, we know where I don't know what that's referring to. Burns Rogers says, so husbands and wives have to have the same mindset. You can't agree to disagree. No, that's not necessarily what I'm saying. What I'm saying is supporting the undermining of the family unit just to support a politician. I don't agree with that. The way that they're framing it, that's the part I don't agree with. Burns Rogers, if they just said, hey, if you and your husband disagree, have a conversation with your husband and y'all can agree to disagree, that'd be a whole different ad than what they're doing. That's not what they're doing. What they're saying is don't agree to disagree with your husband. Pretend that you do agree and then do what you want to do anyway. That undermines a relationship. That undermines a marriage. You can't do that in a real marriage. In a real life, can you do that? Of course you can't do that. So that's ridiculous that they're even telling people to do that. Agree to disagree is we had a conversation and I said this, you said that, and we say, all right, we're on different sides, and I know your position, you know my position. But saying lie to your husband, that's undermining the relationship. Just so you can vote for a politician, that's ridiculous. That's the part that I'm not agreeing with. All right, I'm trying to see if I can scroll. This TikTok comment scrolling thing is still giving me an issue again. Let's see. Steph's twin said, no, he was not. It is, I don't know what you're referring to there. Gone said, you mean he's based. I don't know what you're referring to either. I'm trying to get to the comments here on TikTok, but it's still giving me issues. All right. Kevin said, do you consider yourself to be biased? I'm going to just read them as they come in. So if you got a question or comment that I didn't get to, please just post it again. Kevin said, do I consider myself to be biased? Every human being is biased. I try to be as objective as humanly possible. That's the way that I describe myself. It's impossible for any human being to be completely objective. That's impossible. Only a computer can be objective, and computers are programmed by humans, so even they are biased. Every human being is biased. Renee said, Trump has called people garbage multiple times. Your fake outrage is disingenuous. I have no outrage. What outrage do I have? And when Trump, I said this earlier, Trump says things that get people sensationalized all the time. And when you do it so often, it's no longer news. Biden has never done it. So when he does it once, it's news. This is the way life works. You do something all the time, people stop reacting to it. When you do something once, it's news. That's how it is. Josie said, Kamala's campaign is based on deceit. Well, all politicians lie. So technically you're right, but that's also true of every campaign. Every politician's campaign is based on deceit. They have to lie to you because if they told you the actual truth, you wouldn't vote for them. The actual truth is the government's in debt, and no matter who you vote for, prices are going to go up. More people are going to be broke, and there are going to be no more middle class. It's going to be poor people and rich people. That's the reality no matter who wins the election. In case any of you didn't know, that is the reality even if Trump wins. Trump can't stop it because the government's $35 trillion in debt. And Trump may be a rich man. He ain't that rich. And he ain't giving the government his money. They're going to fumble it just like fumbled everything else. Someone said, I doubt you're being objective. Well, again, it's impossible for any human being to be completely objective, but tell me what I'm not being objective about. ZZ said, is anyone considering Cornel West? No, not anymore. Not anymore. James said, Kamala will put our sons in dresses. Speak for yourself, James. He ain't putting my son in a dress. Trump is a politician. He's a businessman. Yes, I do agree with that. Chris said, middle class here, we ain't going anywhere. No, that's what you think. You're going somewhere. You're either going down or you're going up. The middle class is going away. That's where you're going. Texas Squirtle Squad said, I missed it. Maya said, why are Democrat politicians want to censor social media websites? Because they don't want people saying something they disagree with. That's why. They're trying to get rid of TikTok. If Kamala wins, that's another thing y'all should worry about, TikTok users. They're trying to make TikTok sell the company to an American company, American owner, so that they can control that American owner. TikTok is fighting this in court right now, if y'all didn't know. Thoughts on JFK? What about him? Gone said, what Trump policies do you support? I don't care about Trump's policies. I don't care about Kamala's policies. I just told y'all the federal government is in debt and inflation, which is the real tax you pay, is going up no matter who wins. I don't care about either one of their policies. I do not care. So Terry said the world has changed due to Obama and Biden. Why is it due to Obama and Biden? What about Trump? What about everybody else? Why just those two guys? Brittany said, oh, no, it wasn't talking to me. The middle class is already gone. Well, it's going. It's going. Those who are still in the middle class is still going. It's going to be going even more. Dawn said, Trump told you day one, it's about the children. Okay. Roger said, Trump started to ban TikTok. All right, well, we'll see where it goes. We'll see where this lawsuit goes. Dawn said, you don't care about policies, so why are you voting? Well, first of all, I never said that I was voting. And I said, if I vote, I'm voting for myself. Those are the things I've said on the record. Third, I can vote because it's my right to vote. So I don't have to have the same qualifications that you think people should have just to choose to vote. It's my right to vote. So if I don't care at all, if I was going into the booth and covering my eyes like this and just picking one without looking, I have the freedom to do that. I'm an American citizen. I can do what I want with my vote. And validating my reasons for voting to you are not part of the requirements to vote. Lane said, do you agree with his stance? No, I'm missing stuff. The Republicans are on board with the TikTok sale, not just Dems. Okay, fine. I see a couple people saying that. Well, we'll see. We'll see where it ends up going. But TikTok is fighting it, and I think they should fight it. but I understand why people are against it, because some people have some issues with that country over there with the C word, which I don't know. I'm not sure I should say on TikTok. Obama deal repealed the bill, making it legal for media to push propaganda and lies. All right. Well, the issue with bills is that there's a whole lot of things in bills besides the main thing that we hear about. So Lee says, so if you're not voting, I don't need to listen to you. Bye. All right, bye. I didn't ask you to come here. So Teresa said, well, vote or not, you're right. Your choice. Exactly. Everybody has a right to do what they want with their vote. They don't have to explain it, and they don't have to have a policy reason or any reason. You can vote for whoever you want for whatever reason you want. I can go vote and literally write myself in on the ballot if I want to. Who's going to stop me? Brittany said, voting for yourself makes more sense than voting for Trump. All right. Your opinion. You have a right to an opinion. Someone said, how long do you think the middle class has? I say no more than 20 years. And it might be faster than that. With AI and technology, 20 years is being generous. Terry said, Kamala is not qualified, period. Well, we're kind of past the qualified argument, Terry. I mean, that's pretty much done now. It's either going to be one or the other now. So we'll see. Irma said, thank you for explaining reproduction rights. Yes. And let's stop calling them reproduction rights. Everybody has a right to reproduce. Go have sex with somebody right now. You can reproduce. Who's stopping you? Nobody. Spiritual says, should immigrants get to vote? Or are they legal? Are they citizens? Citizens should be able to vote. You could be an immigrant and become a citizen. Now, if you're an immigrant and you became a citizen, yes, you should vote. But if you are an immigrant and you're not a citizen, no, you can't vote. That's just the law. Unity said they want to decide what is misinformation. Is criminal. It goes against our Constitution. Who's they? Who are you referring to? Candy said that's why we need to vote Trump to keep our freedoms. I think we are going to have freedoms not based on, well, I understand where you're coming from there, Candy, but really freedoms are based on the people stepping up and standing up for themselves. It's not about the politician. That's what I'm saying. Somebody said I wrote myself in once. LOL. Pendleton said, I wish you were on the ballot with Trump. I would never be in politics. Politics is super dirty, a very dirty game. Very dirty game. So I would never get in politics. Randy said, do you think all the food is linked to the illnesses like talked about? I think a good amount of food, especially in the United States. The United States, the FDA allows companies to lobby to put whatever they want in food. So when you eat something that says fat-free, it's usually not fat-free. When it says organic, it's usually not organic. And there's a ton of chemicals that are addictive in the food. This is the reason why America is the most obese country in the world, even though we're allegedly the richest and the smartest country. We're obese because we eat a whole lot of garbage. I've been to a lot of different countries. You never see as many obese people walking around anywhere else in the world as you see in America. That's because of our food laws. They let you put garbage in food and sell it to you and lie to you and tell you it's one thing, it was actually another. Someone said, have you read all of those books? Yes, I actually wrote these books. These are my books. Under Democrats, illegals can vote. Look at Pennsylvania. Well, that's what they're saying. Some people are saying that. D. War Hooker. I get what you're saying, but there are Republicans on the ground there making sure that that doesn't happen. So there's a whole lot of jousting going on when it comes to that. Said, we the people must be preserved. A.U. Hunter. I agree with that part. Unity said they call RFK a nut. Well, yeah, of course, because he's going against the grain. Now, RFK is going against the grain, but he was trying to run as a Democrat. And if they would have let it be a free and fair election process, he would have beat Kamala. I think he would have beat Kamala. Some people voting for AB. Who's AB? I'm not calling their representatives to make the change in their states. I think you mean abortion. So any of you who cares about reproductive rights, quote unquote, AKA abortion, you need to vote in your local elections, your state elections. That's where those things get decided on the state level. Your governors, your mayors, etc., your state representatives, that's where that gets handled. Johnny says Skittles are banned all countries but here. I didn't know is that actually true, Johnny? Can somebody confirm that? Skittles are banned everywhere except the United States? And we know a lot of that stuff is garbage, it's junk. I'm talking about the real food too, not just the candy. Someone said, why are celebrities tied to Diddy endorsing Kamala? Well, Hollywood. Celebrities is Hollywood. Hollywood is left. I'm in Florida. I live in Miami, Florida. That's who I would have voted for, RFK. Yeah, RFK would have beat Kamala. Absolutely. Beth Mo said they don't understand that. Don't understand what? Lori said truth. I don't know what y'all were referring to. Pendleton said abortion rights thrown back to the states is the best thing. Yeah, so each of you could just make a decision in your own state, and this is the local election voting, not the federal election. local election. Federal government fumbles everything anyway. Y'all don't want the federal government in charge. Renee said, not true about PA. You have to be a citizen. They compare signatures at polls or you show ID. Well, they all say that, Renee. I get what you're saying. They all say that, but is that what they're actually doing? That's the question. I get that they all do say that, though. I understand your point. JFK was going against the grain. Look what happened. Yes. Teddy Roosevelt. Yes. Oh, yes, you're right. JFK was going against the grain. There's a video, a movie, a little documentary. It's called what's it called? Everything is a Rich Man's Trick. Y'all can find that video on YouTube. It's called Everything is a Rich Man's Trick, where they talk about what happened with JFK, or at least a different version of what happened with JFK. Let's call it that. So I know a lady who went to Italy for 3 months, ate very well, and swam down. Well, yeah, they don't have the garbage in their food that we have here. In the United States, most of the food you eat is complete garbage. All right, most of you are eating garbage all day, every day. All of us, me too. You go to a restaurant, you're eating garbage, by the way. Any of you who doesn't know. If you go to a restaurant in the United States of America, there's a bunch of garbage in that food. I know it's good, but it's garbage. They mass produce that food. There's a ton of garbage in that food. That's true about Skittles. The Skittles is banned everywhere except America. I didn't know that. I like Skittles. My name is Dre Baldwin, D-R-E. My last name is Baldwin, Dre Baldwin. I didn't know Skittles was banned everywhere. And I like Skittles is one of my favorite candies. Skittles is banned in other countries. I did not know that. So a bunch of you know about that. I didn't know about that. Maybe because I like to eat Skittles. Maybe I'm just ignoring things that I don't want to hear. So let's see. Lincoln went against the grain. Presidents who go against the grain all have one thing in common. Yes, I agree with you. And I do agree with you, Michael. I'll talk about this. If Trump wins, I will talk about this. If he wins, I think between the announcement of him winning and the inauguration in January, somebody's going to attempt on his life again. I do believe that. If he wins. Now, if he loses, then nobody's going to try. But if he wins, absolutely. If Trump wins, there will be another attempt on his life. I'm not going to go as far as guaranteeing it, but I would strongly expect it. Now, hopefully they're unsuccessful, but I think they will try if he wins. Oh, those dyes kill people? Yeah, those dyes are chemicals. That's all it is, chemicals. Everything in Skittles is a chemical. So yes, I understand. Missy said, love me some Skittles. Me too. Those dyes are banned in Australia and Norway. Skittles themselves are banned in the EU. All right, so I see I got to do a whole live on the food industry in America. We can talk about that. I would love to talk about it. It's all a scam. The medical industry is a scam. The food industry is a scam. The federal government in general as a whole is a scam. All of these things are scams. This is why you don't want the federal government in charge of anything. So when Kamala says we want to federalize anything, I don't care what she's talking about. No, you don't. We don't want to federalize nothing. I hope he wins, but he's an underdog again. Well, yeah, go your gods. Maybe he is, but we down to 5 days now. All that matters is the numbers. All that matters are the numbers. Someone said the first attempt was staged. Okay, some say. Pendleton said, please go live on food. All right, I will. I'll do that. Chris Harrell, thank you. Missy, I appreciate it. Ashley said, do a live on food and the sick care system. I will do that. The medical industry is a complete scam. I would love to talk about that. I can tell you all the story of when my son was born and we had a home birth. We did a home birth on purpose. We had a, what's it called? A midwife, a doula, and an assistant. And our son was born at home, but he had some meconium. So we took him to the hospital just to make sure it didn't go into his lungs. And there was a whole set of shenanigans that happened as soon as we got to the hospital. And I am not a fan of the medical industry. I don't like hospitals. I don't mess with the medical industry at all. I don't take any type of medicines. I don't take any type of drugs. And I know for a fact the medical industry is a scam for several reasons. But we'll explain that. We'll talk about that. I'm glad y'all are interested in that. I will gladly talk about that topic all day. All right. Someone said, good morning. How are you doing this morning? I'm doing excellent. Thank you. Yes, a midwife. That's what I had, midwife. Big pharma, big food, big insurance is racket. Well, the biggest thing is the lobbyists. So food companies, in case if y'all don't know about this, the reason that Trump talked about draining the swamp when he talked about DC politics, here's how it works in DC, that all the politicians live in Washington, DC. So for example, your state representatives and your state congressmen and senators, the congresspeople and senators from the state that you live in, once they win, they go live in Washington, D.C., even though they're representing you who lives in Nevada or Pennsylvania or Florida or Oklahoma or Texas. They live in Washington, D.C., but they're making laws and they're voting on stuff for stuff that happens in Texas. And they don't even live in Texas. They're living in D.C. I mean, they have a residence in Texas, but they live in Washington, D.C. And here's what happens when they all live in Washington, D.C. So let's say I run a food company. So just to give y'all a little bit of background on this, I'll do a whole lot on this subject, but they will send a lobbyist. Let's say I run a company that sells like chemicals that go in food, like in candy or something like that. The company will send me to Washington, D.C., and I'm living there and hanging there a lot. All I do all day, every day, is I go to the offices of your congresspeople and your senators, and I lobby them. Lobbying just means I'm putting money in their pockets. That's what lobbying means, giving you money. I give you money so that you vote for a bill that allows my company to put our chemicals in food and label it as safe. That's the whole deal. That's the singular. That's, if I had to put that in one simple concept, that's what they do. That's the racket of the food industry. And there's a bunch of these lobbyists all over Washington, D.C. who do this. All this literally their full-time job. That's all they do. Is just give money to Congress people to vote for this bill so that we can put these chemicals in the food and we can label the food as organic, even though it's technically not organic. Let's change the law for what it means to call something no fat, even though it has up to 5% fat. Anything 5% or under, we can call it no fat. This literally is how it works, in case any of you didn't know. When you buy something that says fat-free, it's not fat-free. There's a number. As long as it's under this number, it's quote-unquote fat-free. As long as it has this many chemicals or less, it's technically organic, even though it's not actually organic. And yes, this is exactly the stuff that's in the food that you buy from the grocery store. That's how it works. This is lobbying. This is called lobbying, and there's a whole industry based around this. The medical industry is worse than the food industry, but they work together, because when you eat all the trash food, what happens? You get sick. You have heart disease. You get cancer. You have strokes. You have all these bad things happen to your body. So now that you're sick, what do you got to do? You got to go to the hospital. Now you go to the hospital. They got the medicines, and then you get the medicines. Then you get the interventions. Then you get what's the other things? The operations. Then the more of those you get, what happens? Several things happen. First of all, now you're dependent on the medical industry. So now they got you on the hook, and you have to keep paying for it, or your insurance has to pay for it. And now that you're there, now they got you financially, because if you can't afford those operations, which cost a lot of money, then now they got you financially, they got you medically, and they got you chemically. They got you locked in. This is what the federal government does. This is why you do not want the federal government overreaching into any aspect of your life, because they will take control of you, and now you're a slave to the government. This is what they do. So when you hear Kamala Harris say, we want the federal government to have control, she doesn't say it in so many words. We want to federalize reproductive rights. So we want to federalize this thing. We want to federalize that thing. You don't want federalized anything. You want small government, limited government. And the group that talks about this the most are actually the libertarians. It's not the Democrats or the Republicans. It's the libertarians who say limited government as small as possible. The challenge with the libertarians is that they, in this two-party system, they can never get enough support to actually win an election. Seed oils are dangerous. Absolutely. My wife's been telling me about seed oils a lot. Watch out for the seed oils. French fries are cooked in seed oils. All of these things are seed oil based. There are videos on YouTube. Y'all can look this stuff up, folks. There are videos on YouTube where people talk about seed oils and how dangerous they are. And there are books about this stuff too. But if you don't want to spend money or you don't want to read a book, go on YouTube and watch the videos. All right, all this stuff is out there. A lot of it's out there. And this is how they get you locked in. The federal government, they allow these lobbyists. And this is why you also hear people saying this. Again, libertarians talk about this all the time. And some Republicans talk about it, is that they want to decenter DC politics. And what I've heard some people talk about this, they want to take all the congressmen, the closest person that y'all know of that probably talks about this a lot, the closest person I would think would be RFK. He would talk about it, Bobby Kennedy. And he would probably say something like, I don't know if he said it, but take all the Congress people and all the senators and tell them, you must go live where you work. All right, if you represent Tennessee, you got to go live in Tennessee. You can't live in DC anymore. Get everybody out of DC. So then the lobbyists can't do what they do. Because see, if I'm a lobbyist and I work for some chemical company, I could go visit the congressperson from every state in one day because they're all in the same spot. But if everybody's in their individual state, I can't do that anymore. And it breaks the entire system of lobbying. And this is why the lobby system works, because they can spend all this money, get what they want. The Congress people get what they want, which is money in their pockets. So they don't want to break up the system. So when someone like Trump comes along and he says, drain the swamp, they know exactly what he's talking about. And they're like, no, we can't let him drain the swamp. He's going to cut off the money. If he drains the swamp, he's going to cut off the money. He's going to destroy our careers. We can't let him drain the swamp. That's why they don't like Trump. It's not because of his mean tweets. It's not because he said anything that he said. It's not because he's going to be a dictator on day one. It's not because he's a Nazi. It's not because what else did he do? Not because he grabbed him by the P word. None of those are the real reason why they don't like Trump. They don't like Trump because he's going to drain the swamp and get all these lobbyists and all these DC politicians out of DC, make them go work where they got elected to work, do their actual fucking jobs, and now they turn off the gravy train. That's what they don't like about Trump. So if y'all really want to know what they don't like about him, forget all the stuff they tell you on TV. That's the nonsense. That's the kindergarten stuff. The real thing they don't like is that he's stopping the money. Anytime you're trying to figure out why professionals are mad at another professional, there's usually one reason. It's a 3-word phrase. Write this down, stamp it on your forehead, follow the money. That's what they don't like about him. He's going to hurt their money. That's why they don't like Bobby Kennedy. He's going to hurt the money. They don't want the money train to stop. Kamala Harris is a career politician. If she loses this election, what's she going to do? Follow the money. Joe Biden, what's he going to do? He's not president anymore. Follow the money. Hillary Clinton, what's she been doing since she lost? Follow the money. They ain't got nothing else. Career politicians are dangerous because they can only succeed by continuing to win elections. So they will do or say whatever they can to stay in office. Follow the money. So if you understand this stuff, it makes perfect sense. All this stuff they say on the internet is play. They don't care about his tweets or grab him by the P word and he's going to be a Nazi, a dictator, and destroy the Constitution. That's the stuff they say to simple-minded people because that's what simple-minded people understand. People who know how to think know the real reason they don't like him. So in any time you see something, there's a good reason, there's a real reason. The good reason against Trump is all the stuff you see on the internet. The real reason is what I just told you. Someone said, follow the stock buys of these congressional folks. Yes, Nancy Pelosi's like a decamillionaire. How? Her salary is like $200,000 a year. How's she a decamillionaire? That's because she has inside trader tips and she's allowed the insider trade. I'll tell y'all another thing. I can talk about this stuff all day, but I'll do a whole live on this because now that I see y'all want to hear it. That there's this thing called insider trading, and many of you know about it, but I got to explain to people who don't know. Insider trading is when you buy or sell a stock based on insider information that you are technically not allowed to have. And if you get caught insider trading, you go to jail. There is a law in the United States that says people who work in Congress, these DC politicians, they're allowed to do insider trading and they don't go to they don't go to jail for insider trading. They're allowed to insider trade. So AOC can insider trade. Nancy Pelosi can insider trade. These people are allowed to insider trade. They literally get to cheat in stock buying in ways that if you did the exact same thing that they did, you would go to jail. They're allowed to do it. So if you want to know why these people want to stay in DC, it's not because their salaries are $150,000 a year. Some of you make more than that doing much easier work than what they do. They make a lot more than $150,000 a year. They make $150,000 on paper. Then they make another 1.5 in stock trades. That's why Nancy Pelosi's like 80-something years old and she ain't leaving, is she? She ain't trying to leave. She ain't leaving. Would you leave? Would you leave if you had that gravy train working for you? Would you leave? Would you retire? Of course not. Why do you think Joe Biden didn't want to retire? Gravy train, folks. Follow the money. All right, they're not doing this for the money. They're not doing this for the prestige of the job. They're doing it for the money. Follow the money. CW said thoughts on Kamala. CW, you must have just got here. User said, why are they allowed to do it? Well, guess who makes the laws? User 828. Who makes the laws? They do. They make laws to serve themselves. All right. So when January 6th happened, I was at the Capitol. You know who works in the Capitol? The lawmakers. They made the laws that said it's not against the law for us to cheat. But if you cheat, it's against the law. Tell me how that makes sense. Tell me how that makes sense. They made a law that allows them to cheat and criminalizes you for cheating. So they basically rigged the game in their favor. Not basically, that's exactly what they did. So would Pelosi leave if Trump gets in? No. She was in when he won the first time. She was in the first time. When he won the first time, she was the Speaker of the House. She's still running the Democratic Party. She may not have all the same positions, but she's still doing it. User said, what's the reasoning they're using? Well, the reasoning is most people don't read and don't know this stuff. So any of you who's listening to this and you want to know why would the politicians set up laws that serve them but don't serve you? Because most people don't even know that they're passing these laws. Most laws that get passed, most of you don't have any idea what's happening. I don't have any idea what's happening. You know how anytime you hear of a bill being passed in Congress, go look at the bill. Go look up the bill, Google it, and read it. It's usually like 200 pages long of text. Are you going to sit there and read that whole thing? Exactly. They know you're not going to read it. Therefore, they just sneak in the shit that they want in the bill, pass the bill, and now here's a new law that you didn't even know became a law because you didn't read the bill, and now they're benefiting off of it because they know what you don't know. There's a guy named AJ. the guy, he has a company called InfoWars. You know what I'm talking about? AJ, that guy. He's been talking about this for 25 years. It's just people are not informed. People don't know what's happening. That guy, AJ, I got to be careful saying his name because there's some names that I say on here, TikTok doesn't like their name. So I'm not going to say his name. You know what I'm talking about, though, right? Like that guy, AJ, that chubby white guy, InfoWars, it's an information war. Y'all just don't know, but the information is there. Every bill the government passes is online and is free to be read. The problem is they're like 200 pages each, and the stuff that they want you to know, they tell you about. Oh, we're passing a border bill. But see, the border bill was 300 pages. Inside those 300 pages, a whole lot more things than just immigration. See, that's the part that most people don't understand. And that's how they trick you. So they say, well, Donald Trump didn't want to sign the border bill. Well, there's a whole lot of things in that border bill, like $68 million going to that country that starts with the letter U. What they got to do with the border? Nothing. But she makes it seem like, oh, well, he just wanted to run on the border. No. Y'all were giving $68 million to another country while we're $35 trillion in debt, but you're talking about the border. See, that's the trick. That's the information war. So if y'all go find that, go listen to that guy, AJ. I'm not going to say his name. Y'all know who I'm talking about right there. AJ, InfoWars, that guy. All right, he talks about this stuff every day. By the way, if y'all didn't know, he talks about this stuff every day. They sued him for $1 billion because he said about the that shooting that happened with the kids a few years ago. Now, maybe he was wrong about that, but he was right about a whole lot of other things. If y'all pay attention, somebody said you put the bill in ChatGPT, it'll summarize it for you. Technically, yes. The issue is people just getting the summaries, you miss the details, and ChatGPT can miss details too. And the whole play is this. They make it that way because they know people are not going to sit there and read it, and they can slip in whatever they want to slip in when you're not paying attention, right under your nose, while you are distracted by, oh, they had a Nazi rally at Madison Square Garden. They're passing bills while you're talking about that. All right, that's how it works. Someone says I go to college. Where and what major? I went to Penn State University. I have a degree in business with a focus in management and marketing. But do not think anything I'm telling you is because I went to college. It's not. I appreciate my college experience, but nothing that I'm telling you is because I went to college. That's a joke. It'd be a joke for me to even say that. The things that I know is because I read and I pay attention and I'm a critical thinker, not because I went to college. I know the things that I know despite the fact that I went to college, not because I went to college. I am technically a success story of the educational system, but I say I'm successful despite my education, not because of my education. Just to be honest. Stanford Gable said, any bill they tried out saying Republicans oppose it, like Medicare, veterans. Yes, exactly. That's what they do. Exactly. They brought forth the scandal, fake uproar, and they passed all the outrage bills. Yes, exactly. How y'all think we got the TSA? You know the TSA when you go to the airports and you got to go through that, and some of you got the TSA clearance and you got to pay every year. They did that out of getting people scared and excited, and they created this whole thing, and now it's never going away. That was almost 25 years ago. Now we still got it. I did a whole live CW on who to vote for, and I didn't vote for anybody. Election day didn't come yet. And if I do vote, I'm voting for myself. I'm going to keep telling y'all that, and people keep asking me the same question. What I do for a living? Well, this is part of what I do for a living, but what I do is we have a program or a company called Work on Your Game. Our main focus is Work on Your Game University, where we work with high-level professionals, the ambitious professionals and entrepreneurs out there to help them produce results fast and now instead of slow and later. Generally, if I had to put it in one sentence, that's what we do. Karina Prince, good to hear from you and glad. Thank you. Ed says, same with sports, celebrities, news, all distractions. Yes, they're all distractions from what's really going on. That is 100% what it is. CW says, so was martial law truly passed by Biden and Harris? I don't know what you're referring to. I don't think we have martial law. I don't think that. Someone said, I've been a Democrat since 1983. Not this year. I finally woke up. That's a long time to be a Democrat. All right, well, good for you. I mean, that's the decision that you want to make. I'm not here trying to sway anybody's decision making. I'm just telling you how I see things. Again, I'm just trying to be objective. No human is completely objective. I'm just trying to be as objective as I can be, but I have no dog in this race. I just told you why I don't have a dog in the race. The federal government is not your friend. Anyone listen to this, unless you happen to be a congressman, a senator, or you work in DC in the politics space, unless you work there, the federal government is not your friend. They are in debt. They fumble every ball. They take from you a lot more than they give to you. The government's never given you anything. All they do is take from you. Right? You could take anything the government ever, quote unquote, gave you. And if you actually follow the trail, you realize that they didn't give you anything. They took from you. So the government is not your friend. I can get away with saying this on TikTok because TikTok is not run by America. I think TikTok likes me saying this stuff. These other apps don't like it because they're American companies. So RFKJ showed the bill passed in Trump's rally, and Joe Rogan exposed it. Yeah, see, the thing is, Joe Rogan's interviews are like 3 hours long. How many people want to sit through a 3-hour interview and listen to everything Joe Rogan says? It's a very popular show, but how many people do you know sit and listen to everything and actually look into the details? Most people do not do that. User said, thank you for enlightening people. User 546, so you're welcome. Plant Daddy said, you're spreading harmful rhetoric. Tell me what I said that's harmful. And that's another language game that people play these days, calling things harmful just because you disagree with it. Tell me what I said that's harmful. Who did I harm with what I said here today? What are you talking about? Vote against Harris is a vote against losing all freedoms, not just women, men too. Like what? Give me an example. They are not, and they are destroying most Americans. Right. I think we should abolish the two parties and become one America. Well, okay. I kind of can see that. Someone said, don't be fooled by Dem Republic. They're all in it together. Yes, they are all in it together. Again, DC politics is one big game for all of them. They all make money. As long as you're in the game, you're making money. People's attention span isn't that long. Yes, exactly. So Rogan has a lot of fans, but you got to understand there's 8 billion people on the planet. So look at how many people listen to his show and how many people there are overall. All right. Most people are still not taking all that stuff in. It takes a brave politician to sit down for a 3-hour interview. Kamala refused to do it. I don't think you even had to be that brave. You just got to not have anything to hide. Donald Trump has nothing to hide, so it's easy for him to sit down for a 3-hour interview. Kamala has things to hide. That's why. Dre, I see some bits are now showing up in your live feed. Bits of what? What do you mean? Bits. What are you talking about? I told my girlfriend the same thing you said. I've been on the couch ever since. I don't know what you're referring to. What did I say? They got coming up with these words and they want truth tellers to be quiet. Yeah, harmful rhetoric. What the hell are you talking about? Harmful. That's funny when people say that. So this man is speaking facts, not rhetoric. Well, glad I have an attention span. Good. CW, I did a live about 2 weeks ago that says who to vote for, CW. So when this is done, go look into my profile and it should still be there. Or just go on YouTube. As a matter of fact, watch it on YouTube because on YouTube you can speed it up. I think you can probably put me on 1.5 or 2x speed and you can listen to everything I said on replay. All right, I'm going to take a couple more questions, then we'll wrap this up, everybody. Mama says she can't sit down for a 10-minute interview. Well, she can. She just doesn't want to. I think Kamala has things to hide. That's why she doesn't want to sit for 3 hours. Because if you sit for 3 hours, people are going to get a good feel for who you are. Donald Trump, we know who he is. So he don't mind sitting for 3 hours. We already know who he is. We know what he's about. Again, love him or hate him, you know what he's about. There's no question about who he is. There's a question about who Kamala is. We still don't know. Joe Rogan said her team reached out. Yeah, I know that she wanted to do a 1 hour and he wanted her to fly she wanted him to fly to DC or wherever she was to do it. And he pretty much said no. So CW said, I already voted for Trump, but I'll give it a listen. Yeah, still give it a listen because it's not really about Trump or Kamala. If you go listen to it, it'll make sense to you. Big Sam said, Trump talks nonsense. He is delusional, so he spews gibberish for 3 hours. Well, go listen to it. It wasn't gibberish. If it was gibberish, the Harris campaign would have used it. They would have ate it up and clipped it out and posted it and said, look at this gibberish that Trump said. Notice they didn't take any single clip from that whole 3-hour interview and use it. If what you said there, Big Sam, is true, the Harris campaign dropped the ball and taking some of those clips and using them. Why didn't they do it? Because there was no gibberish. That was it. Brittany said, did you talk about the Silicon Valley billionaires? No, not today. I didn't. Maybe in the future I will. Peter Thiel. Now, one thing Peter Thiel did that I liked, he financed Hulk Hogan when Hulk Hogan did that thing against who was it? What was the name of that company Hulk Hogan sued and he beat them? It was Deadspin, but there was a bigger company. I can't remember the name of the company that he sued. So there was a whole book called Conspiracy. It was written by Ryan Holiday, and Peter Thiel was the guy who financed Hulk Hogan's fight against them, and he actually beat them. And I like Peter Thiel for doing that. I don't know too much about Peter Thiel outside of that, but I do like that he did that. The book is called Conspiracy by Ryan Holiday. I read the whole book. Read that book, and y'all want to know more about that. What was the name of that company that Hulk Hogan sued when they had because remember he had that sex tape. Hulk Hogan had the sex tape with his wife and this other guy. That tape got out, and the company that he sued Peter Thiel financed the fight against them. I can't remember the name of that company. I think it was Gawker. Might have been Gawker Media because they owned this company called Desmond. But anyway, that's what my introduction to Peter Thiel. So whoever asked about Peter Thiel, that's as much as I know about him. User 329 said, you don't know about Harris because you refuse to pay attention. I pay a ton of attention. What do I not know about her? Tell me. Becky said, my phone froze. Did you answer the political party question? What's the question? What about Per Asper or Brittany? I don't know who that is. Big Sam said, I watched the Joe Rogan interview, was gibberish. Well, you should help the Harris campaign out by showing them the parts that are gibberish and telling them to use it in their ad campaigns. If you really think that. Yeah, it was Gawker. Tara, thank you. Yeah, it was Gawker. I remember that. I remember the book and the story. This was like 15 years ago. But the reason Peter Thiel wanted to do that is because they outed Peter Thiel for being a gay guy, and he didn't want people to know he was gay. So he was mad at them. So he used Hulk Hogan as a way to get back at them. And he did it successfully. Valiant Tour said, America's tired of 99% of media protecting one party. I believe that's true. And it said, the bots don't like your answers. Yeah, these people with these user 3444 names, I guess they're bots. Becky said, am I affiliated? I'm not affiliated with anybody. I'm affiliated with objective reasoning and critical thinking. That's the only thing I'm affiliated with. I'm an entrepreneur. I have no bosses. I am not paid to say anything by anybody. And that gives me the gravitas to say the things that I'm saying. Because if I was affiliated with either one of them, then half of you wouldn't want to listen to what I had to say. So the fact that I stay independent, I guess, for lack of a better term, gives me the space to say the things that I said. Mesmerized said, this thing is deeper than Trump or Kamala. 100%. You are correct. Per Asper is dark money, nonprofit owned by Thiel. Okay, I don't know about that. So I'm qualified to talk about it because I don't know about it, Brittany. I believe you, but I don't know enough about it to say anything about it. User 329 said, okay, so what do you know about Harris? You lean more towards Trump. Go back and listen to the lives I've been doing for the last 3 weeks and tell me what I'm missing. User 828 says, I'm not a bot. LOL, my name's Amber. Not sure why it doesn't show up. Well, Amber, you got a picture of yourself there, so I figured you're not a bot. But user 3297 does not have a picture, so I don't know if that's a bot or not. And when I say bot, I mean, maybe it's an actual human, but bots is like when you don't have a username and you don't have a picture and you're saying stuff that seems to be pushing back on the speaker, then people call you a bot. All right, so it's so wonderful being independent and an independent thinker. Yes, well, everybody calls himself an independent thinker these days, so that phrase almost is losing its value, but being independent, in fact, that still has value. So that's really what matters the most, because everybody calls himself an independent thinker, even when they're not. Charlemagne calls himself independent. He's not independent. Democratic Party did everything they could to destroy RFK. I agree with that. Stanford, Gable, yes, they did. RFK would have beat Kamala if they would have had a free thing, just like Bernie Sanders would have beat Hillary. If they had a real election and no nonsense, Bernie Sanders would have beat Hillary and RFK would have beat Kamala. Tony said, you're not telling people all the truth. Well, I never claimed that I was. There's too much truth for me to squeeze it into 2 hours. We ain't got enough time for me to tell you all the truth. Do bots get paid? I don't know. Ask a bot. I'm unqualified to answer that question. Someone said, what's the title on YouTube? There's so many. It's put in vote 2024, the hashtag CW, put in my name and then vote 2024. I only use that hashtag a few times, so you'll see the ones where I talk about it. So you should be able to find that. User said, okay, man up, say who you support. I told you, myself. How many times I got to say that? Y'all keep that. Everybody keeps asking me that question. I support myself. I do not support either political candidate. I do not support either political party. Anybody unclear on that? All right, Tara, I appreciate you. Good seeing you. I'll be back tomorrow. Sharon said RFK is nuts. Okay, your opinion. My first vote was for Russ Perot. I remember him. Mama OT said you're wide awake. Nice, thank you. Antoinette said y'all can't handle the whole truth. Yeah, the whole truth will need to be in a book, not a live stream. I get my real information from the Bible because it speaks about the past, present, and future. I respect that, King Richard. More people need to have some type of principle that they lean on. So I respect anyone who is a devout follower of a religion, because that means you have principles that you abide by. And many people these days have no principles. So I respect that. They sued him at every turn. Yes, they should. Yes, they did. They want a real West because they want to manipulate and pander propaganda. Okay, fair enough. If you're not voting, your opinion doesn't count. Well, the stats on this TikTok say otherwise. The stats on this TikTok says 7,000 people have watched it. So if my opinion doesn't count, you need to tell the 7,000 people that my opinion doesn't count. RFK was a breath of fresh air in politics. Well, he's still there. Now he's with the Trump campaign. All right, we're going to wrap this up, folks. Just to let you all know, last housekeeping things. I'll do these lives every Monday through Friday starting at 8 a.m. And I will be going hard on these topics for at least the next, we'll probably have election fallout. So if we have an outcome and we know the outcome Tuesday night, I'll probably talk about this all next week, but definitely tomorrow, then Monday, definitely Tuesday, and then definitely Wednesday, because then hopefully we know who won. And then we'll just keep talking about it for as long as this is a relevant thing to talk about. So if y'all like these conversations, I'll do more of these. And like half of the conversation is me just responding to y'all's comments. Most of the comments are coming through TikTok. So those of y'all on other apps, if y'all see me looking over here, I'm just looking at TikTok comments and responding because TikTok has the most engagement. But I still mess with y'all over here on Rumble, YouTube, X, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok. I still mess with all y'all. But TikTok, when I do lives, they just have the most engagement. That's why I'm looking at TikTok the most. But I do these lives Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. Work on Your Game University. Those of y'all want to know, what do I do for a living? Work on Your Game University. These books are part of what I do, but books are not my main business. I don't really have a main business. My main business is Work on Your Game University. And what my people who work with me, when I ask them, what is it that you like about me most? And anybody asks me, what's your main thing? The answer is, Dre, you're no BS, no fluff. You're straight to the point. You give real talk, and you don't sugarcoat things. You don't dance around subjects. That's what our clients say about me. That's what our customers say about me. That's what our followers say about me. So y'all want to know what it is about me that I do for a living? That's the main thing I do for a living. So whether I'm talking about politics, mindset, entrepreneurship, basketball, giving a speech, doing a TED Talk, writing a book, that's the main through line. That applies to everything that I've ever done, no matter what the subject is. And that's what the people who work with me, who have worked with me the most and appreciate me the most, that's what they say about me. So if you want to know what I do for a living, that's the best way that I can describe it. So Becky said, you came up on my FYP, you're a breath of fresh air. Well, shout out to TikTok for putting me on the For You page for so many people. A lot of people said that's where they found me. So I'm following you from now on. Well, I appreciate it. Glad you found me. How we find the Trump interview? The Trump interview is on Spotify. The Joe Rogan's based in Spotify, but it's on YouTube too. And by the way, I'm on YouTube as well. I'm on YouTube. Every app that I just named, I'm on all of them. So I'm on YouTube. So if you want to see the replays of any of these that I've done, go on YouTube, and they're on there too, because YouTube is over here. So while I'm looking at y'all on TikTok, I'm looking at y'all on Instagram. YouTube's over here. So I'm recording this on YouTube as well. So any of you want to find me on YouTube, you can find me there. I got 20 years of content on YouTube on a lot of different subjects. So y'all want to find more about me there. I probably got the least amount of content on TikTok of everything, because I got to TikTok later. I was on all of these other ones for a long time before I came over here. So I'm glad you all found me. And yeah, everybody on TikTok, shout out to TikTok for putting me on the FU page, FY page, not the FU page, FYP page. Put me on the For You page. So shout out to whoever's running TikTok who keeps putting me up on that page so more of you can find me. So shout out to TikTok for now, as long as they don't kick me off again. If I say the wrong word, TikTok will kick me off again. So I ain't getting too excited about TikTok. But we got to watch our language with these folks. Everybody have a great rest of your day. I will see you all tomorrow, 8 o'clock a.m. Topic to be determined. We'll see. Everybody have a great day. We're out of here.